Good evening. Alderman Misick, would you please give the invocation this evening?
Good evening. I'd like to read from Isaiah 61, beginning in verse 2 from the Passion Translation. I'm sent to announce a new season of God's grace, to comfort all those who are in sorrow, to strengthen those crushed by despair who mourn, to give them a beautiful bouquet in the place of ashes, the oil of bliss instead of tears, and the mantle of joyous praise instead of the spirit of heaviness. Because of this, they'll be known as mighty oaks of righteousness, planted by Yahweh as a living display of his glory. They will restore ruins from long ago and rebuild what was long devastated. They will renew ruined cities and desolations of past generations. God, I just thank you that you rebuild, that you restore. I thank you, God, that you protect the citizens of this great city. I thank you, Lord, that you draw us near to your heart. I thank you that you give us wisdom to lead with good stewardship of all of the resources. Lord, we just declare that there are new resources coming to Freeport, new ideas, new businesses. We thank you that you alone are prospering.
Thank you. So now we will officially call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, take the roll.
Mayor Miller?
Here.
Alderman Borneman is absent. Alderpersons Monroe?
Here.
Ross?
Here.
Parker?
Here.
Busker?
Here.
Shadle?
Here.
Misick?
Here.
And Berberet.
Here.
Thank you. If you could please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Alderman Berberet. Item number 1 is approval of the agenda. As far as the executive session is concerned, we'll be doing C1 and C. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Monroe. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Item number 2, approval from the minutes from the regular meeting. Motion made by Alderman Ross, seconded by Alderman Berberet. Favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Public comments. We have no one signed in. Comment portion. So we'll item number 4 is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is consistent in nature and acted as one motion unless a member of the council will have discussion. Seeing none, the consent agenda consists of approving to receive and place on file the Planning Commission minutes from January 20th, Foreign Fire Insurance Board, April 14th, Board of Fire and Police, April 26th, and the Zoning Board of Appeals, March 3rd, 2022. Also is Police Department report from May 2022, Building Permit report from the Freeport Housing Authority month dated June 2, Lauterbach and Amon report for the Police Pension Board and the Firefighters Board actuarial valuation reports. Gaspy 768 for pension and the fire pension. Gaspy 74.5 for post-retirement health plan, and the finance bills payable in the total of $1,308,910.37. Payroll for pay period ending June. The total of $540,908.30. Finance Department report May 2022 and the cash investment. Is there a motion?
Moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Misick. Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Berberet.
Aye.
Monroe.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
And Misick.
Aye.
The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 5. Yes.
usually depends on when. If you meet one day, don't meet, not necessarily for another 4 months. They approve prior set. Thereafter, then I'll say it. Correct. Right, and if there's a gap in time, because many planning commissions, a board of appeals don't always meet every single month. They have months between.
And we'll move on to item number 5 is recognition by Alderman.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to do the Freeport High School first, due to the fact that it's not going to take that long. That one's going to take just a little bit longer. I'd like to recognize Freeport graduate Markel Baker. Markel was nominated by the Illinois wrestling coaches and officials associated to receive the Class A Scholarship Wrestler of the Year. He is a 4-time regional champ and a 3-time sectional champ, 3 different conference champs, 2 times conference MVP, 2019 state qualifier, 2020 runner-up, the 2021 IWOCA state champ, and also a 2022 ISIHA state champ. The city of Freeport would like to recognize Marco Baker for his outstanding accomplishment. Markel, at this time, he is gone to college. He's already in school, getting the ball rolling. But we will make sure that he receives his certificate. We also have from Freeport High School. I'd like to mention, honorable mention, for 2 other ladies who are still out competing at this time that could not make it. The first one is Amanda Duma. I know I got it wrong. And who is a national champion in the rifle shooting for the ROTC. And I also like to recognize Candace. Got a last name too. It's a pretty good one.
Didich.
Yeah, Dudich, who won the 130-pound division state championship in ISA girls wrestling, first time in history. So they will also receive a certificate, and we will find a way to make sure that they receive theirs also. Now, hard work, and you'll be able to see why. They're their coach, Robin Stokes, head coach. That way too. Hey, that's not a problem. All right. The Atkins girls volleyball team of 2021. This team won 3rd in the state Class A division for volleyball, which is the first time in school history that the volleyball team has made it to state and won. Congratulations to the head coach, assistant coach, and all the hardworking students and athletes of this team. I would just like to say congratulations again. And good job. The discipline and the hard work you guys put in, hey, it's well worth it. I'd like to just thank you all. And right now, I will give Coach
Congratulations, ladies. Next, we'll have a presentation of the Auditor's Report for fiscal year 2021, presented by Whitley.
Yeah, PDF. Here we state, as well as government, our opinion, interesting. But it's a mouthful that's hard. After that, on page analysis, as the name implies, management put together, and if you 100 pages of it, get a good overview of what transpired. Statements, entity-wide, at least with governmental, all the fund in their budget, and includes all the long, well, I did it. I don't like to dwell too much on the right statement. Like I said, you live in the funds. You know, revenue. That really helped out your fund. Probably doing. After that, then, on pages 27 to 29 are the proprietary water, sewer, health and environment. And those funds are, fee operate themselves. You just have some pluses themselves. But I have a lot of infrastructure work. Pages 30, fund, pension, assets, pension. Then pages 32 are the foot statements, and I'll just a couple of page 30 rather lengthy at the beginning of 30. These cash and investment balances. Takeaway here is that all your deposits with financial have excess collateral pledged. You're in real good shape there. Pages 49 to 50, capital, and that's pretty, nothing jumps out there. 51 to 60, long-term debt. One shows the makeup there. Pension assets, both I'm around. So that's important. And that's mostly the tragedy. That should be $775 million. And with the infrastructure work, you have about $2 million IEPA loans. But you can on pages 60 and 61, you can see the requirements by year, all those outstanding. pages 60. Lengthy footnotes related these here are page 6 how the that pension page 70 that asset was about $5 million. On page 78 the firefighters pension asset was 1.6. Those are obviously getting on page 79 then is other post important as a pay-as-you-go plan. After that, pages 85 to 97 are there to mention with historical. Pages 100 to 102 are the finding after that, then on pages 143 to 169 are the debt service. Finally, talks about inflation, and there were no funds. That's it for the financial statements. Do you have any questions on what we call? We're required to communicate with them. Differences of opinion or audit, etiquette. And of course, then finally, we have our management where we comments related to internal control issues, questions on your accounting process. And again, that's a great. But Michelle and her. That's about it. That's all I had.
Any questions? That's a nice report, Michelle. Alderman Burberry.
Thank you for usual. On page 100. Curious, American Rescue Act, original budget, final budget, the actual. Kind of tell me.
I'm not sure
Final.
when
PR. Wasn't thousand. Got done.
Questions? Not, is there a motion to place on file? Made by Alderman Parker, seconded by Alderman Ross. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Item number 7.
Reappointment of Jeff Cutler to the Board of Zoning Appeals Commission effective through June 30th, 2027.
Item number
Ordinance amending section 1040.07 regarding standardizing water and sewer hookup within 200 feet of service.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to take. Good evening, Council. Thank you for advancing this to second read. I just wanted to come back around and kind of go through some of the general summary of this particular ordinance as currently written. So, kind of the problem as I see invest in infrastructure. I would like to thank you to Kevin during this presentation. So the problem as I see it is we invest millions of dollars in structure, water and collection and distribution system. One of the issues that I've observed is have a number, not a tremendous amount as a percentage, but we have some folks that are not fully utilizing the. So at this current time, there's really no way to encourage people or remove the economic arguments that historically been on well or have their own septic system and don't see the need to hook up. Fortunately, that doesn't diminish the cost of the. So, the purpose of the standardization ordinance encourage folks to hook up at it. They have, and if they don't hook up, really the worst thing that can happen is they're going to pay a monthly to help until they come to a place where they. So as the bullet points say here, we've got payers. We're all paying for this infrastructure, and to me, we do have individuals with wells. They're good, and we can't ensure that they're a good source of water. On top of that, leach fields can fail. They can also create a public health threat. Percolating effluent coming to the surface in some cases, so it creates a public health issue. It's also, as we're moving along, the purpose of this ordinance is to put a structure. It's a toolbox for the utility. It creates the ability for us, gives us the tools that we need to manage things the way it should be in business. The difference between having the tools and some of the concerns I've heard. To hook up at the side, some or that the length of service time that would have to be run. You know, this ordinance does not require any of that. All it does is require folks who don't connect, participate in the operation.
as I mentioned, we basically have 20 folks with access to water and waste aren't currently connected. About 60 properties have access to water. We have 800 people with access to wastewater. And we kind of touched on this last meeting. Conservatively speaking, this represents an $85,000 to $104,000 a year. That all by itself is not significant over a period of 10 or 20 years. No money there. Brought up some of the examples. Craig, who lives in Wilson Hills, knows this. We installed water main 5% up. That represented $200,000 lost revenue. Have a similar at Town and Country or Edmar States. Similar situation. We have hooked up to sewer there that aren't hooked up to water. One of the concerns, water mains particularly bad. The residents are wanting us to do that. We need to have to go. Want people to participate in the cost of maintaining that infrastructure. We've got some other examples. Demeter Heights. Demeter Heights is a mature neighborhood. It's been a very long time. Yeah, I still have currently on did hook up. That's folks on Stevenson, subdivision, Laidwood. So again, the intent of the ordinance, put a structure in least 1M cost related to also in health risk. Was a brief comment earlier about accusations. Discuss this, but really no annexation or anything that would impact this. We also just mentioned that you need to you how to use them. Solution, how you use them. And I encourage me add word but to create a special assessment, paid back property tax. Also, potentially doing grants for folks, getting grants covering the cost of the service.
Thank you, Director. Basically, the only thing I really have to say is that we have scattered out throughout we already have the structure hired hook that time. Obvious. Also, the support their we are very aggressive. For unfortunately, look at it. Always do.
Hey, we had road redone. Hey, this is so as far as the strategic plan concerned, does support safe and welcome and support average. So recently, of course, got some data on that. Comfortable during this, but for a average service connect, about $105. That is in comparison to an well anywhere between 12 and 15. Sewer connection, approximately average talking about 700. Again, compared to leach field, which is conservative, kind of keep. A couple last points I just wanted to make is Stevenson County Health Department has issued their infrastructure funds from the EPA. They know that our part they are. So I leave you with a request to approve this ordinance.
Director, you gotten any feedback from people who are affected?
I would say we got a couple of people that really want to hold. As I mentioned before, this ordinance is just the tool, not the implement. Totally different. Yes, there are a couple. Vast majority.
I'm going to try to stay nice. $33,000 to hook up water. $33,000, third of the cost of affected by this. You're basically wanting to apply a tax to somebody who doesn't want to use a service offered by the city. That's like taxing somebody because they don't have a car. It doesn't make any sense. If you want to raise these funds, you raise property tax, raise other taxes. You don't go out and say, look, you don't want to connect. That's not acceptable. I mean, quite honestly, I was connected to the water sewer. I spent one summer 7 times busted water main, filling my water, going out and buying bottles. You're telling me that we're going to tell the citizens of this city that it's okay that we provide service and charge them for a service that they're not going to use. Lived in the country, grew up in the country, made it okay. No water, no sewer out there. Take care of it. And most of these people are. Are there some that aren't? Probably. That's another issue. I think it's ludicrous that we're looking to try and force this upon people who lived in this city, pay taxes in this city, been there, been here their entire life, and because of the planning of the people before us, now they're going to get stuck with a huge bill. It's not right, and a lot of them are on fixed incomes. I know a lot of those areas around Demeter, down to the park, and those areas out there, not the youngest part of our population. I worry a lot about that. I think we have to think very carefully before we put something like this on the books. 200 feet. Why not 100? Why not 75? Now, where's this arbitrary 200 come from? Why is that okay? I don't think, you're not going to convince me that this makes sense the way it's laid out right now, because it puts way too much onus on the people that live in the city, pay all of the salaries of the folks that work in the city, and they go out and do it. I mean, at what point do you say, oh, you're going to ride the bus? Well, we're going to charge you a tax for riding the bus. Where do we stop? I guess the question is.
Could I respond?
Alderman Shader?
I just want to make a couple of finer points. 200-foot property line. Considered ready, but the average service line did. So that I just went on that, and I would. My kids pay 40% property taxes.
Alderman Shadle?
Last time put sewer in, homeowners were assessed. I don't remember that happening. We're putting sewer projects in our finance grants. So mandatory pay happening less sewer in the house. We're just making sure that when it is opened up, it's available. We're going to get people situation. Water 60. Meantime, every other person that's paying have it available, whatever his, we're all paying, not hooked. That's the essence of what I understand. As we put these projects, we need people to participate. Brand new not going to hook. And we're paying extra. They're not using it. Need everybody. That's what it's. Run out. Start. Not hooked up. That's not what this is about.
Alderman Monroe.
I 100% disagree. And, you know, you hit the nail on the head. You're getting grants to put these in. The city's not out anything. So why should we not try and figure out how to get them in? And that person sitting there on the well and on the septic, they've been on it for years. Skyline Drive, it's been that way for years. Now they've got, you know, they've got some service up there, but not everybody's on it. And I think you've got to really think about 40 to 50 feet is the average. Okay, fine, amend this. Put 40 to 50 feet in there from the property line. 200, insanity. Because you really stick somebody. What happens if that line is on the street behind your house? Now I've got to run it, but it's within 200 feet of your property line. You got to run it underneath their property to get to your property. Otherwise, we can. City manager, I'll tell you right now, what you're bringing to the table is not right.
No, it's nothing that hasn't been done. State law by the Environmental Protection Agency at 200 feet are required to hook up to water and sewer there. Period. Not something new. We've never enforced it. We're not talking about enforcing it today. We're not going to send water and sewer pipes through people's backyards because that's part of the problem we have today. Ridiculous. You put them in front of their property, run them down the street. Alderman Shado pointed out earlier, you know, at one time, city had money to do all this, and we didn't. When we did it, we don't have the money to give away freebies anymore. So we're looking for loans. We're looking for grants to do it. And once it's in, though, we expect people to be in it because they have to help pay for it. There's still operating costs, whether they're hooked up to it or not. There's still debt service if it's a loan that's got to be repaid. They got to pay it whether they hook up to it or not. Still has to be done. We still got to look out for the finances of the city. And there's people that go find certain neighborhoods. A third of the people's septic systems are failing. A third of them just replaced them. A third of them are fine. And you'll never get all those people at one time to hook up at the same time.
Attorney Zito.
And Manager Bucus stated it that it's a state law that says that if a public water supply is within 200 or sewer supply is within 200 feet of a property, that the property owner is supposed to connect. Now, a lot of communities are not heavy-handed in the sense of like, you know, no police are going out there saying you must physically connect right now, but it's a state law, and I'm almost probably positive that the county mirrors that provision in saying that if someone's well or septic goes bad and they're within 200 feet of a city water supply, they're not going to issue you a permit to drill a new well or to put in a new septic field. They're going to make you hook up into city water, in which case then at that point you are on the hook for bringing that full 100 feet there. So that's currently the state of the law of the rules right now.
Alderman Parker.
Round number would be 5,000 for one. About 87. Oh, that's
So the difference right now is the fact that, you know, there's not a mechanism, you know, for us right now to, again, I think it's all about the fact that the city is trying to take a reasonable approach and say, look, we're not going to make you physically necessarily hook into, right? Even though the state law says that, and the county code says that, you know, if you're within 200 feet, you're supposed to connect, right, on your dime. That I think what we're looking for is a mechanism that we understand that you might not have $7,500 or $8,000 right now, in which case you're not going to have to hook in necessarily, but you're going to help share in the cost of the fact of that infrastructure that's in front of your house. You know, so you're going to pay this ready to serve fee. That might be more manageable until such time, you know, to make those monthly payments of whatever it is, $90 there, until such time as you're able to come up with a lump sum or get on a payment plan of some sort, or whether it's a special assessment or something like that. So that is the solution that the city has come up with to try to make this more tolerable for people, rather than say, well, guess what? Sorry, state law says that you have to hook up, and that's what we're rely on. There, we're trying to find a mechanism through this ordinance to say, and if you can't, that's fine. We're not going to make you come up with $8,000 right now, but you're going to pay these monthly charges to help offset our cost of putting that pipe in the ground in the first place, and the fact that we have to maintain it along the way. So, I think they always talk about, the concept of, when you're in school, when you have a group project, right? A group of 4 kids working on a group project, 3 of them work real hard, but then there might always be one kid who decides to kind of slack off a little bit, and they call it the freeloader scenario. This is kind of what that scenario is. Everyone else is paying for that pipe that's in front of the ground. They're paying for the operations and maintenance. If there's water main bust, everyone else that's hooked up is paying for it. But the ones that aren't hooked up to it, they're not having to pay for it.
Madam.
I would argue that the highest property taxes in the state of Illinois in this county argue different. So we need to think really long and hard about this. That's part of the reason why I'm fighting this, because our property values are hurt because of all of the taxes, and that's what this tax. It's not a penalty. It's nothing else. Everybody's being paid the same tax. That's the problem situation, and the whole rest of the state can do it. I don't really care. We're not the rest of the state. We're Stevenson County. We're Freeport, Illinois, and we need to figure this out and take care of our people. I'll leave.
The only thing I'm thinking about is, say, not they're in dire straits, not take expensive, aggressive city, zero thing, infrastructure that's have to have. That's what.
Ross?
First thing. Excuse me. Like the first thing. I've said it at needs to be problem with the correcting the infrastructure. First job when I got out of high school, and a lot of things. But the thing about it is, city. Residents. That's what it's. Having a hard time. I know. Make some better to help some. That's the way I help somebody do. You're on the same. You're looking down on. I've been down there. It's right in the middle. Thank you.
Mayor. A question, Manager Bucus. State statute been in place sometimes have like the history that state.
Not off the top of my head, but in every community that I've been in, this concept has been on the books of, hey, if you're within 200 feet of public water supply, the county is not going to allow you to put a new well or septic in, and then you have to connect. So, I mean, I've been practicing. I'm thinking it's at least 15 years old.
Sir, my curiosity is how many homes have had updates to let's say their septic, drilling a well, how often that's happening after the statute was, just really what we're talking about today, manager. This is not taking final action on that, but it simply is our ordinance lining up. That's really what, yes, there is a matter of taking responsibility to the services that are already there. This is a really tough subject, and I know as aldermen want to have every resident's best interest. So by holding those accounts who have not been used, you're actually others who put one, because you level the playing field. One of the phrases director had, and really, as we do level the playing field in other areas, we're doing that in other areas, and I think that, being able to share that, able to align with this, really, that's hard. Extra on the bill, and really in this case, decide not to hook, not take on, will be paying that portion they have not, so they can do. I understand. Oh, Alderman Rock, bring up some, but simply carrying that part not been paid, I think residents, if they don't want to hook up or they wait until they will be paying that rate, they can make that decision. But I definitely get this headed in the right direction. Fix the issue.
Alderman Busker.
Conversation came up earlier about property value, and I know with dealing with a couple of these properties, trying to sell them that are within the city that are on septic, trying to get permits and any kind of government financing. If there's a well or septic, you're not going to be able to get the loans to purchase these properties, water and sewer. Also, by putting that infrastructure in, you are going to raise the property values of that property. So we're getting people that want to downsize in the future or upsize wherever they want to move in the future, to get them to tap into here, and maybe that'd be a kind of a marketing tool to get people to come on board instead of just paying a fee, trying to work out a way to get tapped into it earlier. It's going to up their property resale value. Angle.
No further.
Berberet,
Aye.
Monroe,
No.
Ross,
Abstain.
Parker, Busker,
Aye.
Shadle, Mysick.
Aye.
Motion passes 5 to 1 with 1 abstention.
Thank you. Item number 9 is the second reading of ordinance 2022-7. Could you
Ordinance amending Part 8, Business Regulation and Taxation Code, Chapter 874, Regulation of Tobacco Products regarding sale of tobacco and electronic vaping products.
Thank you.
Again, as we spoke about before, this is just adding back into the ordinance violation of the possession of tobacco product vaping pen aligned strategically with safe and welcoming. This gives the police department an when it needs.
Berberay.
Aye.
Monroe.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
And Meissick.
Aye.
The ordinance passes 7-0.
Item number 10 is the first. 28.
Ordinance approving amendment to vehicle lease agreement with the Stevenson County Senior Center doing business as Senior Resource Center.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Pretzel City Area Transit provides on-demand transportation services in the city of Freeport and Stevenson County, and it currently uses 16 vehicles. This service has been provided through the Senior Resource Center, subject to a lease agreement with a term expiration of June 30th, 2022. City and SRC staff find it prudent to extend the agreement through June 30th of 2026, and staff recommends approval of this ordinance. Yes, Madam Mayor.
Questions? Comments?
Berberay.
Aye.
Monroe.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker. Busker.
Aye.
Shadle. And Meissick.
Aye.
The motion to approve passes 7-0. I'm sorry. To suspend. I recorded that wrong.
So any, on the,
One moment, I need to straighten my notes out here. Okay, Berberay.
Aye.
Monroe.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
And Meissick.
Aye.
And the ordinance passes 7-0.
item number,
Ordinance amending section 242.46, ambulance rates.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This ordinance how deals with based upon a study set forth current resident stands $150, $1,200. This is based on a study currently in ALS 15, and for ALS and 17 fees residents range of customary. Bring us back. Past 3 years.
So does that ordinance then just go away that approved where they're supposed to annual increase doesn't exist? Or
No, so the CPI increase, which is, or so this is basically,
okay, so we've caught up in 940, raising it 1,200, less than
whatever CPI is. Right, so it's what our ordinance calls for an CPI increase, which we have not done. And then plus coupled with study, which even if we would have done CPI, we would have still been compared to what other people are charging. So catching ourselves back, and the language increase by implement will be in a better place. Hopefully, we won't be at all. We'll just
yes, with that annual CPI, I'm trying to understand. There's something in the ordinance or change in here that we could make sure that that does get implemented. Not far behind to the first meeting in. How's that going to work? Fall behind.
I think it's probably just more of a procedural matter, whether fire department or whatever, just contract. Every year we got to bump this rate. COVID, everything. I don't think it's anything that needs written into the ordinance. I think it's practical nuts and bolts.
CPI maximum.
It should be increased by the CPI, but not to exceed 5% per year. So it's to be increased annually by CPI, but not to exceed 5. Cap is 5.
Alderman.
Yes, Madam Mayor. So when was the last time the 5% or so increase was?
2019, as far as where my instincts tell me that time span and out. And we are less than, as the PI currently is at 5. To gain traction.
My question was for you to repeat that, what the CPI. Is there any historical where the CPI is over 6%? And if we're at the charging the 5%, we're still below the CPI. We're going to end up getting further behind here. While we've got it open up, we might.
Not as I'm aware. I don't have any historical basis for it. Ordinance does have a set point. Is that correct, Attorney Zito?
Right, so it just speaks to the cap of no more than 5%. Yes, I don't know what CPI is fluxed at.
which, you know, I understand where the cap is. I'm wondering if, you know, while we've got it capped, if we're already quite a bit behind. Keep piecemealing it together here.
Honestly, if we just follow the ordinances the city did, right where we need to be, probably pretty close. So I think better management of very important.
I do not. I think having discussed this, very good about in line. This is just something that kind of escaped the radar. Kind of an important piece. Taken care of. CPI from security is set on a basis once a year. Kind of have to generate it. Of course, right now are pretty fluctuating. Be nice.
Parker?
Second.
On to the next regular schedule. 12.
Ordinance creating section 242.57, charges for advanced life support upgrades to outlying fire jurisdictions, and amending section 242.53A, Fire Department Capital Fund.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is an additional follow-up. At Freeport Fire, their fee being assessed to outlying fire juris departments request and assistance. Patient higher level care fee assist that lies knowing of the patient initial or so this is a fee for fuel equipment that patient experience of our report becomes is waived fee mutual remains in between us and they do not patient these payments would come directly
When you assist, does it you're not always an ambulance?
yes, if it's a fire call, of course. MS they begin and stay on. They cannot. It is becoming more as voluntary. Also, air try his best.
150
Came from chief. Basically, they're like a stopgap. Example of it. Many times, Lemons and
A motion to move.
I just
Second.
have, so, if car ambulances, we're gonna charge $1,200. If it's non-residents, just Lena, or they take care of the billing, we're gonna only get 450.
that's correct.
If we take care of the billing, up to 17.
That is correct. It's just that we're only our rate.
Monroe?
Like to move this forward.
Second.
Seconded. Item number 13.
Ordinance amending section 810.01 of the zoning code concerning licensing of vacation rentals to be allowed in dwelling units where residential use is currently allowed by the zoning code.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Developers in Freeport are showing increased interest in licensing dwelling units as vacation. Currently, only structures suitable for occupation as a single-family residence can obtain a vacation rental license. Staff proposes the following text amendment to Section 810 of the City of Freeport zoning code. So in Section 810.01D, we are proposing it to say, vacation rental means any dwelling unit which is suitable for occupation pursuant to the provisions of these codified ordinances and which is rented on a periodic basis to transient guests for a period of time less than 30 days. The dwelling unit may or may not be occupied by the owner when it is not occupied by guests, but it shall not be occupied by the owner while the dwelling unit is occupied by guests. Moving on forward to Section 810.02, staff is also proposing the text amendment to state, a license for a vacation rental shall not be issued unless the property for which the license requested is properly zoned. Licenses for vacation rentals will only be issued to the property owner. On June 9th, 2022, the City of Freeport Planning Commission made a motion recommending approval of the proposed text amendment to Section 810 by a vote of 5 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 abstentions. In conjunction with the recommendations made by the Planning Commission, staff recommends approval of the proposed text amendment to this Section 810 of the City of Freeport Zoning Code, based upon the growing interest in the licensing of dwelling units as vacation rentals, as well as the analysis of both the comprehensive and
Discussion? Berberay?
Is there any revenue coming to the city for this proposal through license?
There are two. So currently there are 2 licensed vacation rentals, and there's a fee of $100, which is annual. And on top of that, we have a hotel tax, which is Section 886 of our code, and that states that 5% of gross rental income is to be paid to the city on a monthly basis.
Item number 14 is
Ordinance approving special use application from Phil Mcdermott for 312 Beef and Sausage Restaurant at 1726 Southwest Avenue.
Mr. Duckman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Staff received a special use application from Phil Mcdermott for a restaurant selling alcoholic beverages at 1726 Southwest Avenue, which is the future location for the second location for 312 Beef Sausage. Section 125201B states that the City of Freeport zoning code states that restaurants, taverns, packaged liquor stores, and any other establishment selling alcoholic beverages for consumption on or off premises requires a special use permit. Subject property was once the location of Manny's Pizza. That was a restaurant which served alcohol. However, this license has lapsed, and the petitioner is required to obtain this special use permit in order to sell alcohol at their proposed restaurant. On June 2nd, 2022, the City of Freeport Zoning Board of Appeals recommended approval of the petitioner's request to City Council by a vote of 5 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 abstentions. On June 9th, 2022, the City of Freeport Planning Commission recommended approval of the petitioner's request to City Council by a vote of 5 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 abstentions. In conjunction with the findings of the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Planning Commission, staff recommends approval of special use permit for a restaurant serving alcohol at 1726 Southwest.
Alderman Busker?
Seeing as how that location has been historically a restaurant, tavern, I see no issues. I make a motion to move forward.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Busker, Alderman Parker to 32.
Do we know the timeline that looking forward to moving into that location? Okay.
Item number 15, first reading.
Ordinance amending the zoning classification of property owned by Modern Plating and located on East De Leon Street from R1, which is one family residence, to F1, which is floodplain, as requested by Verde Solar Solutions.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to step up to the podium for a minute. I'm going to put up on the screen right now the proposed solar development from Verde Solutions at the Modern Plating location. So Verde Solutions is the contractor that is being hired by Modern Plating, which you can see in the picture here. Modern Plating is going to be down here. They own all this property here and a property back here that goes Pecatonica River. So they were hired as a contractor for Modern Plating, and Verde Solutions submitted an application on May 5th, 2022 for a zoning map amendment to rezone the property from the R4 one family residence district, which that's going to encompass only this area in here. They actually own, Modern Plating owns quite a bit of property. This portion here is already in the M2 manufacturing district. But what they're proposing to do here is they want to put solar panels here, and this residential. Right now, they currently cannot apply for a building permit to do. So they want to go from the R4 one family residence district to the F1 floodplain district, which would allow for a large-scale solar energy system, which this concept plan here equals a total of 7 acres. That's what constitutes here as the large-scale energy system. So the F1 floodplain district per section 1260.01 of the City of Freeport zoning code, it basically states that the floodplain district is established and delineated on the zoning map to meet the needs of the Pecatonica River and its tributaries to carry the abnormal flow of water at times of flood, to ensure that the taxable value of land and buildings throughout the city may be conserved, to prevent encroachments into the district which will unduly increase flood height and damage, as well as to prevent the loss of life and excessive damage to the property in the area of the greatest flood hazard. So this subject parcel here, it adjoins the Pecatonica River, and the proposed use of a large-scale solar energy system, it is an allowed use in this F1 floodplain district. And that is essentially what is going on here. They currently don't have the zoning to do this, solar panels here, and Modern Plating requesting to go to the F1 floodplain district in order to eventually get a permit to build this section of solar panels here. On June 2nd, the City of Freeport Zoning Board of Appeals recommended approval of the petitioner's request to City Council by a vote of 4 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 abstention. On June 9th, 2022, the City of Freeport Planning Commission recommended approval of the petitioner's request to City Council by a vote of 5 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 abstentions. In conjunction with the City of Freeport Zoning Board of Appeals and Planning Commission, staff recommends approval of the zoning map amendment from the R4 one family residence district to the F1 floodplain district, which would allow for a large-scale solar energy system.
By the looks of the map, there's a few houses that are going to be hard. Did the zoning board and the planning commission, was there anything that was sent out on behalf of the, notify these residents possibility come and?
Yes, Madam Mayor. So there was on the zoning board at the zoning hearing, there was comments from neighbors that had the concerns that you're speaking of, with this being in their backyard essentially. But what was discussed at the zoning hearing, and I will reiterate here, is that in order to get a building permit for a large-scale solar system in the city of Freeport, a large-scale solar system is any solar array that's 1 acre or larger. So if you're going to do that, you have a town hall meeting to begin with. And essentially what happens is there's a long list of items that they must press to get the permit. And one of them is a town hall meeting. And essentially when this, after the town hall meeting, it comes to my office as the director, I can either approve their building permit as submitted, I can deny it outright, or I can approve it with conditions. So my answer there would be that after this town hall meeting, I certainly intend to listen to all comments from the public and incorporate them as reasonably as possible into a recommendation of the anticipated building permit.
Monroe?
Yes, Director. How often does that piece of property, does it?
Well, obviously it does flood, and this is going to be in a, you want to bear with me here, I can pull up the actual FEMA floodplain map, but it does flood. And to your point, part of their building permit is going to require a stormwater management analysis, which will be performed by a civil engineer. So they're not going to be able to actually build any of this because what's anticipated here is that this is mostly going to be in the 100-year floodplain. This line here, if you look here, this is actually in the regulated floodway. So anything in here is going to require likely an IDNR permit. That's which is the Army Corps of Engineers implemented through the IDNR. So the answer to your question is, according to FEMA, this is a 100-year floodplain. This area in here where they want to build is a 100-year floodplain. And if they're going to do it, they're going to have a stormwater management.
Follow up, Mayor. You know what toxic chemicals are used in making of solar panels?
I am not. I can't answer that intelligently. Yeah, go. Yeah, please.
As an atmospheric scientist, I find it kind of scary that they're going to put these down there or even think about it. Things like cadmium, telluride, copper. I mean, literally go through. There's like 15 things you couldn't put in your house. And we want to put it in a floodplain. What does that do to the river? What does it do to the ecosystem? You know, all of those kinds of things. So I'd have very serious concerns and very careful about what I put in that area. Just something to think about before we go and start building a solar farm right along the river.
I appreciate that comment. I also just wanted to follow up. I've spoken with Verde, their contractor, and I reiterated to them that I had serious concerns about this project. But ultimately, it's their right. Modern Planning has a right to ask for the zoning. They also have a right to apply for a permit. But what I had explained to them was they're not going to get anywhere with this building process if they're not submitting a civil engineer design. It's going to be approved by a civil engineer, and then yet on top of that, I also plan on having we're going to have that reviewed by a civil engineer on our behalf as well. So to your point, I agree completely. However, they cannot go forward at all if they don't have this zone. They can't move forward at all with the permit. And I think that the floodplain district is very restrictive. It has additional requirements to do anything in the floodplain, and I think it makes more sense in this area. It's unlikely that anyone's ever going to build single-family residences back in here. I think that F1 is more of a restrictive zoning district. I think it makes sense.
Aren't we that area?
That would be further up.
Okay.
In that other, yeah. This is in the arcade subdivision. Yeah, but this is not part of the buyout.
Okay.
Well, what I can say with certainty is that I anticipate, I say for a fact, they're going to have a civil engineer that's going to testify to that fact. So a civil engineer is going to say, we have reviewed their design against stormwater management ordinance and also against IDNR requirements. It's certainly possible that after reviewing this plan, they're going to say, civil engineer is going to say, this is going to require an IDNR permit. They could say that, but they're 100% going to say, because we're going to hold them to it, that their design meets our ordinance as well as the Army Corps' ordinance implemented through IDNR. So they have to prove to us that it meets the stormwater ordinance. They have to, and a civil engineer has to put license and see that statement. Well, no, not at this point. I mean, this is a zoning ordinance. So this is not a permit yet. We're not, just by granting the zoning, we're not granting them the right to build. So and also I had spoken to Verde. I said, have you talked to a civil engineer yet about the design? And they said, no, we have not yet. And I said, well, you understand you will be speaking with a civil engineer that will testify that this doesn't change the flow of water. Yeah, 100%. Yes. I agree, and I'd asked them. I'd asked the applicant to, I said before you go through with the zoning, it might make sense for you to contact the civil engineer about the feasibility of this. They said no, we want to go through with the zoning. And I said, well, the zoning is in line with your intent because it's a restrictive zoning district. You're going from essentially a residential zoning district to a highly restrictive flood zone. Flood zone district, the F1 flood zone, is really intended to restrict developments that would have to go through strict civil engineering requirements. So anything they build in here has a higher level of, they have to basically have a higher level of resolve. They have to get a civil engineer to say this will work. And as I've worked in the civil engineering industry for a long time, a licensed surveyor, so I can testify to the fact that what they're doing is not going to be easy. What they're doing is not going to be easy. What they're proposing is not going to necessarily be easy, nor is it going to be inexpensive to go through that. When they contact a civil engineer and go through these plans, they're going to be paying quite a bit of money just in that fact. And that civil engineer is going to have to testify and put their license on the line saying it's not going to increase the flow of water. And by saying that, that civil engineer is liable for that statement. But you can come back to a civil engineer that says, hey, this water's not, that flow of water is not going to change. They're testifying to that. Seal those plans.
Alderman Busker?
So you're saying, if our ordinance read that you could build or array in a residential district, that would be the end of it. In a floodplain, you have to have that, so having it being more restricted, I'd like to make a motion to.
The motion made by Alderman Parker to
Madam Mayor, was that seconded by Parker?
Yeah.
Thank you.
item number 6, adoption of
Resolution approving agreement with Azavar for analytical software.
Director Richter.
Illinois Department of Revenue by business. Allocate. For the Department of Revenue requirements, there's a number of staff with I were bringing of their proprietary software. Software will data that in relevant charts. A proposed contract will $500. Time to determine if this past that 1 year $1,000. Contract also allows us to our technology.
Parker, second.
Question about the software itself. Like, what is the benefit to the city if we were to continue to keep this going, years forward? Would there be a good return?
Add some data. Right now, I think we're file and
Thank you.
Berberate.
Aye.
Monroe.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Shadle. And Meissick.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 7-0.
17.
Resolution approving engineering agreement with Fair Graham for wastewater treatment plant upgrades, Phase 1.
Thank you, Your Honor. The wastewater treatment plant additionally increased regulatory phosphorus works alteration. Phase 1 wastewater place concrete outdated control. Water treatment project. Lastly, this project is a priority wastewater program and it will $5 million. Program has submitted a proposal for professional out and chemical treatment treatment lab facility and proposal capital staff request 2050 accepting for additional
Bill Busker.
Berberate.
Aye.
Monroe. Ross. Parker. Busker. Shadle. And Meissick.
Aye.
That resolution is adopted 7-0.
And item number
Resolution waiving bidding process and approving agreement with Elevator Inspection Services Wisconsin LLC to provide elevator inspection services.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On August 15, 2019, the City of Freeport entered into an agreement with Elevator Inspection Services to perform elevator inspection as a result of a formal bid process that was held on July 30th, 2019, where Elevator Inspection Services, EIS, Elevator Inspection Services, has worked with staff to extend this agreement at the same service rate until 30th, 2025, which would per Ordinance 2019-049, the city has established an elevator inspection fee of $100. The EIS proposal has a rate of $22 per inspection, which leads to EIS sending the city a $78 check per inspection. Collaborative process with EIS has produced the following revenue. 2020, approximately $7,000. In 2021, $7,000. And as of 2022, EIS has sent us $4,680. Additionally, staff has had an effective and efficient working relationship with EIS, and staff recommends approval of the resolution.
Second.
Berberay.
Aye.
Monroe.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker. I did not hear. Busker.
Aye.
Shadle. And Misick.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 7-0.
Item number 19.
Bid opening on June 16th, 2022, MFT 22-00000-01-GM, Burchard Avenue, Meadows Drive, Laurel Street, and Bel Air Street.
Director,
Thank you, Your Honor. Staff plans to pave Burchard Avenue from Lincoln to Cresta, Laurel Street, Park to Holly, and Meadows Drive, west to 2022. Meadow. Two bids. Civil and Martin. Home Civil. Project is tax fund. IDOT.
Can I ask the attorney something first? Do you think that contingency needs to be in the motion?
I'm taking it being a part of the motion.
Part of the
As-
motion? Okay, sorry. Could you repeat the first and second again? Berberay,
Aye.
Monroe,
Aye.
Ross,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Busker,
Aye.
Shadle,
Aye.
and Misick.
Aye.
The motion is approved 7-0. Bid opening on June 16th, 2022, MFT number 22-00000-00GM, which is the 2022 Street Maintenance Program.
Thank you, Your Honor. Staff plans to repave road following the quarter collection June 6th. Paving portion. Two bids received were from Fiscal and Martin and 5,000. Martin excavate upon 6 for IDOT protest. Hill.
Oscar, seconded by Alderman Ross.
Berberay,
Aye.
Monroe, Ross,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Busker,
Aye.
Shadle,
Aye.
and Misick.
Aye.
And that motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Department
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to give an update on the FEMA pre-disaster mitigation grant. The city has received first appraisal reports, and that is now going through IEMA and hopefully approved quickly, and we can move forward with starting some negotiations on that. Good there, and then I also wanted to make an announcement that the Community Development Block Grant for $550,000 in rehabilitation of homes has also been approved. And currently, what that involves is 60 homes were surveyed in 2021, which is last year, and essentially those 60 homes would average $9,000 or so improvements.
Question on that. Some of the residents who qualified, is that they're
Yes, we're working on that now. Staff, myself, and staff working with me, we're working on a letter to get out. Also, direct correspondence to. We're gonna get a hold and approve. How can we help you in moving forward with permit application?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just have observed Chicago Street project has kicked off and it's all underway. Crews have changed in Chicago and water main. They'll be up their work between Douglas, Stevenson, Jackson State. That's in the Chicago Street. Also, the sanitary collector crews of our moving right along. Woods, I guess tomorrow, trained on the new equipment, doing our first paving job. There. Small job. Start. So representatives from Paris will banner, which is erupting around and around. After that, we'll probably starting country. Good news. Also, the water treatment plant passed its tank leak test, so treatment plant ramps and tracks ramp project placing several of the ramps as we expect. It should be all I've got.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, real quick, just an update. We had a real Father's Day weekend. We had a 57 call weekend that started Friday and ended early this morning. A reminder to everyone out in viewing land, we have a touch a truck coming this Wednesday at the matinee. So, bring the kids out, have some handouts for them and such. Get to kind of check out the trucks. And finally, I want to publicly Emily Gusson's last day of her year-long probation period will end tomorrow. She's become quite an addition to our department. Earlier today, we presented her with a additional stuff worn by all signified. Made the grade, has the stuff, and now officially call herself firefighter. So congratulations, family.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have no report.
I don't. library. Heads?
I have nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. I just want council department heads, which is where so 5 until 6:30, and have some time where the department heads come. Staff on the street. And also, our next meeting won't be until Tuesday, July 5th. So just and for variety.
Nothing tonight.
Yeah, just look. There was when I was. Forget. Like to say. Manager view. And I want to stutter. Get it done. He got it done. Came through. Paper. I really appreciate.
Just a reminder of the 5th Ward Neighborhood Watch meeting.
Just annual out there.
You know, I totally recommend.
Want to echo that. Really appreciate having a comprehensive.
Next would be public comment.
Pursuant to 5 ILCS 122C1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. And we will also, I'll read exemption 2, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees.
Is there a motion?
Berberay.
Aye.
Monroe. Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
And Meiser.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.